The signal from the void. Captain Maya Chen stood motionless on the bridge of the UES Sentinel, her eyes fixed on the starfield displayed on the main view screen. After 15 years of patrolling the outer colonies, she thought she'd seen everything the universe could throw at her. The Sentinel was a medium-class patrol vessel, not the most impressive ship in Earth's fleet, but it had served her well, becoming home to her crew of 35. "Captain, we're picking up something unusual," said Lieutenant Ravi Sharma, his fingers dancing across his communication console. "It's faint, but it's definitely using one of our old emergency protocols." Maya moved to his station, her interest piqued. "How old are we talking about?" "At least 40 years, ma'am. It's using the Copernicus-class distress signature. Those ships were decommissioned before either of us was born." Maya frowned. The Copernicus missions were early colony expeditions, sent out before the development of reliable FTL communication. Several had disappeared without a trace, presumed lost to the countless dangers of deep space. "Can you isolate the source?" she asked. "Already triangulating," replied Sharma. "It's coming from the Taurus 842 system, about 3 jumps from here. Unmapped territory." First Officer Elijah Wright, a tall man with perpetually worried eyes, approached from his station. "Could be pirates using old codes to lure in rescuers. Wouldn't be the first time. Or it could be survivors," countered Dr. Naomi Keller, the ship's chief medical officer. "Those old colony ships had cryogenic capabilities. There could be people waiting for rescue for decades." Maya considered her options. Protocol dictated she report the signal to command first, but that would mean a delay of at least 6 hours. If there were survivors out there, every minute could count. "Prepare for jump sequence. We're going to investigate," she decided. "Sharma, send the signal data to command with our intentions. They can catch up with us later." The Sentinel made 3 consecutive jumps, each folding space around the ship to traverse distances that would otherwise take years. When they finally emerged in the Taurus 842 system, they were greeted by an unremarkable yellow star with 7 orbiting planets. "Signal is originating from the 4th planet," reported Sharma. "It's getting stronger as we approach." Maya was about to respond when the ship's proximity alarms blared. "Debris field ahead," called out Lieutenant Commander Yasmin Al-Fahim from the navigation console. On the view screen, the darkness of space was punctuated by floating remnants of what had clearly been spacecraft. Some pieces were recognizably human in design, but others. "Some of these hull fragments don't match any known configuration in our database," said Chief Engineer Leon Rodriguez as he studied the readings. "The alloy composition is unlike anything I've ever seen." "Life signs on the planet?" Maya asked, a chill running down her spine. After a moment of scanning, Sharma looked up in surprise. "Yes, Captain. I'm detecting approximately 30 human biosignatures in a small valley near the equator. It appears to be the only area not showing signs of massive destruction." From orbit, they could see vast black scars marring the planet's surface, as if entire regions had been systematically burned away. Maya felt her stomach tighten as she realized what they were seeing. Evidence of orbital bombardment on a scale that spoke of ruthless efficiency. "Prepare a landing team," she ordered. "We're going down there." Hours later, Maya led a team of 6 through the thin but breathable atmosphere of the planet's surface. The landscape around them was barren and scorched, with occasional remnants of structures protruding from the blackened earth like broken teeth. In the distance, a cluster of prefabricated shelters sat in the shadow of a small mountain range, the source of the signal. As they approached, a figure emerged from the largest structure, hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. He was a thin man with a wild gray beard and tattered clothing that might once have been a standard colony uniform. "Thank the stars," the man called out, his voice cracking with emotion. "We thought no one would ever come." More people appeared behind him, their faces gaunt with the haunted look of survivors who had seen too much. "I'm Captain Maya Chen of the Earth Patrol Ship Sentinel." Maya introduced herself. "We picked up your distress signal." "Dr. Marcus Wells," the man replied. Chief Science Officer of the colony ship Copernicus 7, or what's left of us, anyway. Inside the main shelter, Dr. Wells explained their situation over cups of synthesized nutrition that barely passed for coffee. The Copernicus 7 had been part of an exploration mission sent out 43 years ago. They had established a research colony on this planet to study unusual energy readings coming from what they initially believed were natural formations. They weren't natural, Wells said grimly. They were artifacts left by something ancient that passed through this system long ago. When we activated one of them for study, it sent out some kind of signal. 3 months later, they arrived. They? Asked Dr. Keller. Wells tapped a command into a battered console. A holographic image appeared, showing tall, elongated creatures with multiple limbs and glossy black skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their heads were featureless except for a cluster of sensory organs that pulsed with bioluminescence. We call them the Voidborn, Wells explained. They communicate through pulses of light and electrical signals. They don't speak, at least not in any way we can understand. They just take. Take what? Maya asked, though she already feared the answer. People, Wells said, his voice hollow. They attacked without warning. Killed those who resisted, captured everyone else. There were over 500 colonists originally. Those of us here managed to escape during the chaos. He pulled up security footage showing the aliens methodically rounding up humans and placing them in translucent pods. The captives were conscious, their faces contorted in terror. Why didn't anyone know about this colony? Asked Officer Wright. Wells looked away, his expression guilty. Our mission wasn't exactly official. Some higher-ups in the Earth government wanted to study the artifacts quietly before announcing their discovery. If the technology proved valuable, they would claim the credit. Maya's jaw clenched, so no one knew to look for you. Exactly. We've been sending the distress signal for years, hoping someone would eventually hear it. Wells gestured to the small group of survivors. We've been hiding, moving between shelters whenever the Voidborn sweep the area. They still maintain a base on the other side of the planet. What do they want with humans? Dr. Keller asked. Based on what we've observed, they see us as biological resources, Wells said, pulling up more footage. This time, it showed humans in transparent containers aboard what appeared to be a Voidborn ship. Aliens moved around them, extracting samples of blood, tissue, and even neural material while the humans remained conscious. They're studying us, Wells continued, like we might study bacteria or insects. They don't see us as intelligent beings. We're just specimens to them. Maya felt a cold rage building inside her. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately, if they've been sending people back to their homeworld for study. An alarm suddenly blared from one of the consoles. A young woman rushed to it, her face paling. Dr. Wells. Multiple ships entering the atmosphere. They're coming back. Maya tapped her communications device. Sentinel, this is Chen. We need emergency extraction now. And prepare to transmit everything we've learned to Earth Command on priority channels. As they rushed to evacuate the survivors, Maya looked up to see dark shapes descending through the clouds. Voidborn ships coming to collect more specimens. Get everyone to the shuttle, she ordered. We're leaving now. The race to the shuttle was a blur of adrenaline and terror. 2 of the survivors fell behind and were swept up in beams of light from the alien vessels. Maya watched helplessly as they disappeared, their screams cutting off abruptly. Once aboard the Sentinel, they barely escaped the system before more Voidborn ships arrived. As they jumped to safety, Maya sent the full report to Earth Command, knowing that what they had discovered would change everything. The response came faster than she expected. A single line of text appeared on her screen, chilling in its simplicity. P-R-O-T-O-C-O-L har BNGR, activated. All fevliti elements mobilize. This is not a drill. Maya had heard rumors about Protocol Harbinger during her years of service. It was the ultimate defense contingency, developed after the colonial wars, but never implemented. The protocol authorized the use of weapons so devastating they had been locked away, hoped never to be needed. Now, as the Sentinel raced back toward Earth, she wondered what horrors humanity was about to unleash upon the Voidborn, and whether it would be enough. Extinction response. Admiral Helena Reyes stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, watching as holographic displays tracked the mobilization of the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. After receiving the Sentinel's transmission, the United Earth government had convened an emergency session that lasted all of 30 minutes before unanimously activating Protocol Harbinger. Status report, she demanded. General Victor Okafor, commander of the ground forces, stepped forward. All troop transports are at 97% readiness. The 3rd and 5th Marine Divisions are already boarding. Orbital drop units will be ready within the hour. Fleet status, she asked, turning to Vice Admiral Tanaka. All 7 battle groups are mobilizing, he replied. The Artemis and Orion carrier groups will be ready to jump in 3 hours. The others will follow within 12. Helena nodded, her face betraying nothing of the gravity of what they were about to undertake, and Project Nemesis. The room fell silent. Chief Scientist Dr. Eleanor Geo cleared her throat. The Nemesis weapons have been removed from storage and are being prepped for deployment. The autonomous platforms will be ready to launch in 6 hours. Helena turned to face the main view screen, where the recording from the Sentinel played on a loop. The sight of humans being treated like lab specimens had galvanized Earth's leadership like nothing before. They made a fatal mistake, she said quietly. They should have killed us all at once. Instead, they gave us a warning. The Voidborn had no way of knowing what they had awakened. For centuries, humans had fought each other over territory, resources, ideology. Those conflicts had driven weapons development to terrifying heights before finally uniting under a single government. When peace came, the most devastating weapons weren't destroyed. They were locked away, guarded by an oath that they would only be used if humanity itself faced extinction. That day had come. Aboard the Sentinel, Captain Maya Chen received her new orders. The Sentinel would not be joining the main assault fleet. Instead, they would be escorting a small, unmarked vessel to the edge of Voidborn space. "What's on that ship?" she asked Admiral Reyes during their secure communication. "Insurance," came the cryptic reply. "Something we hope we won't need." 2 days later, the first wave of human ships arrived at the Taurus 842 system. Leading the assault was the UES Thunderchild, a dreadnought-class warship under the command of Admiral Jaden Williams. The Voidborn had established a substantial presence in the system, a sprawling orbital facility above the 4th planet, and dozens of ships patrolling the area. "All ships, battle positions," ordered Williams. "Weapons hot. Show these bastards what happens when you treat humans like cattle." The Voidborn response was immediate. Their ships, sleek, organic-looking vessels that seemed to flow rather than fly, moved to intercept the human fleet. The battle was joined with furious intensity. Human railguns accelerated projectiles to relativistic speeds, tearing through Voidborn hulls. The aliens responded with weapons that bent space itself, causing localized gravitational distortions that crushed 3 human frigates in the opening minutes of the engagement. "They're strong," muttered Williams as he watched the tactical display. "But they're not used to fighting opponents who can actually hurt them." Indeed, the Voidborn tactics suggested they had never faced serious resistance. Their formations were designed for efficiency, not combat. They had no concept of sacrifice or strategic withdrawal, concepts born from millennia of human warfare. The human fleet pressed its advantage, adapting quickly to Voidborn tactics. Smaller ships darted between the larger alien vessels, delivering precision strikes to what intelligence suggested were vulnerable areas. On the planet's surface, drop ships deployed marine units to rescue remaining human captives from Voidborn facilities. The fighting was brutal and close quarters, with Marines in powered armor engaging voidborn warriors who could manipulate their environments in ways that defied human understanding. They communicate through light pulses, reported Colonel Sarah Mehta from the ground. We've been jamming their frequencies and they're becoming disorganized. They don't have a backup system. They've never needed one before. That was the key insight that turned the tide. The Voidborn, for all their technological advancement, had evolved in isolation. They had never needed to adapt to an enemy that could fight back effectively. They had no contingency plans, no fallback strategies. Humanity, forged in the crucible of countless wars against itself, had developed redundancy after redundancy. When one system failed, another took its place. When one strategy proved ineffective, another was implemented immediately. As the battle raged, more human fleets arrived, bringing with them the first of the Nemesis platforms, autonomous weapons systems housing artificial intelligences dedicated solely to warfare. These machines analyzed voidborn tactics in real time, identifying patterns and weaknesses faster than any human could. Within hours, the tide had turned decisively. The Voidborn orbital facility was surrounded, its defenses overwhelmed by the relentless human assault. Admiral Williams received a transmission from a Marine unit that had penetrated deep into the facility. "Sir, you need to see this." The video feed showed rows upon rows of containment units, each holding a human captive in various stages of dissection. Some had been kept alive for what must have been years, their bodies modified and experimented upon in ways that defied comprehension. Williams's face hardened. "No mercy," he ordered. "Purge them all." The Voidborn facility was destroyed utterly, no trace left except floating debris. The surviving aliens retreated, abandoning the system with unexpected speed. "They're running," reported the tactical officer. Long-range sensors show them heading toward a star system 50 light-years distant. They appear to be converging there. "Their homeworld," Williams said. "They're falling back to defend it." At the edge of known space, the Sentinel watched as the unmarked vessel they had escorted prepared for its final mission. Captain Maya Chen had been briefed on what the ship carried: autonomous probes containing the most terrible weapon humanity had ever conceived. "Is this really necessary?" she asked Dr. Eleanor Zhao, who had accompanied the weapon. "We analyzed the data from the Voidborn facility," Zhao replied. "They've been collecting humans for scientific study for decades, but it's more than that. They're preparing for large-scale harvesting operations. Earth is marked as their primary target." She pulled up a holographic display showing Voidborn projections. "They don't just want specimens anymore. They want to farm us." Billions of humans kept in controlled environments as a renewable biological resource. Maya felt sick. "So this is our answer? Genocide?" "No," Zhao said firmly. "This is survival. We tried to establish communication with them after the battle. They don't recognize us as intelligent life. To them, we're just sophisticated animals. They don't understand the concept of surrender or negotiation." The unmarked vessel deployed its payload, hundreds of small probes that immediately jumped to FTL, heading toward the Voidborn homeworld and their major colony systems. Each carried a weapon designed to rewrite the atomic structure of matter itself, turning planets inside out from their cores. 3 days later, Earth received confirmation. The Voidborn homeworld and 17 colony systems had been rendered uninhabitable. The species that had seen humans as nothing more than research specimens was no more. In the aftermath, humanity faced the moral reckoning of what it had done. Defense councils debated whether the response had been proportionate, whether alternatives could have been explored. Philosophers questioned if humanity had become the very monster it had fought against. Captain Maya Chen, promoted for her role in uncovering the threat, gave testimony before the United Earth Council. "I don't know if what we did was right," she said honestly, "but I know what I saw in that facility. I saw beings who viewed us as nothing more than lab rats, who would have eventually come for Earth and harvested billions of us without a second thought." She paused, looking at the assembled leaders. The universe is colder and more dangerous than we imagined. Perhaps the most frightening thing about humanity isn't our capacity for violence, but how quickly and effectively we can unleash it when threatened. The Voidborn thought they were the apex predators of the galaxy. They never considered that when cornered, even prey can become deadly. As humanity expanded further into the stars, the lesson of the Voidborn response echoed through its military doctrine and first contact protocols. New civilizations encountered by human explorers were approached with respect and caution, not out of fear of what they might do to humanity, but what humanity might be forced to do to them. The signal that had started it all, a simple SOS from a forgotten colony, had revealed a fundamental truth about humans. Threaten our existence, treat us as less than sentient, and we will respond with overwhelming force. It wasn't pride or vengeance that drove humanity's response. It was the simple, primal instinct of a species that refused to be prey. And throughout the galaxy, the story spread among other intelligent species. Beware the humans. They come in peace, but if you threaten them or those under their protection, they will bring extinction. For they have stared into the abyss of their own annihilation and emerged with weapons that can unmake worlds. The distress call that doomed an entire civilization had ensured humanity's survival and cemented its reputation as the most terrifying defenders in known space.